So right now I'm about to do a museum exhibit interview for Winglet Museum. It's a full day today, so I'm excited because it's this is something I've been working on for over a year, and I'm excited about this. So come along with me. My name is Scarlett Ekaroma. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. First name is spelled Scarlett. Last name is Ekeroma.
Excellent. And where are you joining us from today?
I am joining you from my living room in Lacey, Washington.
See, yay. Okay. How long have you been practicing down there?
So I've been a therapist. So I graduated in 2012. And so I've been practicing since 2012, but I've been licensed since 2017. So is that 6 years, 7 years? Yeah.
9 years plus, 9 years for licensing and a few more, like 11 since.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a while. So yeah. So I always count my internship in grad school, but they told me not to do that. So because, it really started in starting to do practicum hours and internship hours was 2010. So yeah. So yeah.
Can you tell me what your grounding is, your overall practice, your overall approach to therapy?
My biggest thing is the way I stay grounded in this is I have to meet people where they're at. I'm very, very person-centered. And so one of the things is it's important for me to meet them where they're at, because I can't push them along where they're not ready to go. And so it's really, and when I meet them where they're at, they're definitely more, the individuals I'm seeing are very receptive, because it's at their pace, because therapy is supposed to be at the client's pace, not the therapist's pace.
So what it sounds like your clients have come to you with some sort of awareness of a situation that they want help with. Are there particular dynamics within the communities, within Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities that make them a little resistant to getting into therapy or counseling?
Well, I think there's a lot of the stigma that still is kind of around, like it's not for us, so because there's not enough AANHPI therapists in this space. It's very, there's a lot of Caucasians in this space because they pretty much dominate that space. So the last time I look at statistics for just people of color as therapists, it's across the world, it's less than 10%. So if you break that down even more, it's probably for AANHPI less than like 2 or 3%. So it's really hard. And so I think that's what a bit of the resistance is, because there's not enough of us in this space. So like, for example, in the state of Washington, I'm one of 3 Pacific Island therapists, licensed therapists. Yeah, so we get inundated with a lot of Pacific Islanders, so that's why I end up doing a lot of more group community education classes for our my PI communities, because I can reach the masses rather than the independent, because there's a lot of us here in Washington State.
Could you say a little bit more about these group dynamics and group therapy? Why do you think that's something that's just works out of necessity, or is this like something that seems to work better with Pacific Islander communities?
I think it's both. I think it's because we're a very communal society already, AANHPI is, and so it's better to reach the community rather than the independent, because we are very big on the communal space. And so the other part that what it helps is it also helps that to let them see, like, okay, we're not in this alone, and they're able to ask because the one thing I love about those community education classes, they're able to ask questions without any type of fear, without any type of backlash, because they all know they're there for a common purpose, to learn about something about mental health. So it eases that tension or that fear that they, or stigma that they may have as well. It also helps that they have somebody who looks like them as well, who can understand the culture, who can understand the communal space and how important that is for our AANHPI communities.
Are there any predominant issues that seem to come up with some regularity in the community? And are there specific like demographics that these are associated with?
Well, I mean, as far as demographic, I think it's just across the board, because like I said, there's still a lot of even defining what mental health is. You know, not a lot of times they're going off of, they think mental health is for somebody who's actually crazy. And so a lot of the education that I do, especially with my colleague, my other Samoan therapist colleague, we really provide psychoeducation of like this crazy that they're referencing, because a lot of times they're getting it's like old stories that kind of, you know, fables that kind of stick around in our AANHPI communities, or they get their ideas from a lot of movies, which don't do a great deal in regards to mental health challenges. So it's you know, they come in because it's all ages that come in that have a variety of questions around mental health, and to be able to break it down for them so that they can receive it and then sit with it and process it. And then some come to wanting to seek services, some don't, but the really amazing thing that happens is we'll get referred. You know, so it's really because, as we know, with the AANHPI community, they have to trust you. If there's no trust, then it's just like, no, we'll move forward.
You said that you've worked with a lot of different generations, different ages.
Yeah.
Are there issues that are more significant with first generation folks as compared to, like, say, Gen Z? And can you talk about the differences between the generations?
Yeah, so I've had the great opportunity, for example, I'll start off with the elders of our generation, and they are amazing. They are really amazing. And to see them actually come out of their shell and to come out of like, oh, I can ask this question, you know, and not get reprimanded for it, and not get in trouble, and not feel like I'm something's wrong with me. Like, it's really cool to see them develop that, you know, and really talk about the stigmas that they grew up with regarding mental health. And the one amazing thing that I've got to experience with them, a couple of them had said to me, you know, thank you for coming back and helping us, because people forget about us. They don't think we want to learn, and we always want to learn. And so I've got to experience that with a lot of our elders, where they're just like, it's a common thing, like, we just didn't know, like, no one taught us these things. And I'm like, yeah, that's why we're here. And so with the younger generation, I'll say like that like the parents of the younger generation, it's really helping them break out of like patterns. They're used to certain patterns, and it's like helping them literally bring a different perspective. Like, because I'm always just like, I'm never going to tell you to get rid of your culture. Let's just use the things that work, and let's work on the things that don't work so that it can be better. With my young ones I've worked with, it's a lot of patience that they are challenged with, because and I get it, because they're like, well, they're the elders, they should know better. And there's a lot of psycho ed that I have to give them about, like, they only know better if they were taught those things. And I always give this message of, if they knew better, they would have taught you and not kept it from you. They would have showed you. They're like, oh, so it helps them give that older generation grace, and still hold them accountable. But it's just like, just how we have to have patience for you to learn, we have to have the same patience for the elders because they didn't know. Yeah. Yeah.
Do the Gen Zs, because of their base familiarity with mental health and wellness stuff, just because of being Gen Z, do you find that impacts their ability to bring elders in or to support elders' mental health and wellness journeys?
Well, I think for me, sometimes it's like you have to, if the Gen Z is bringing in the elders, there's this, you have to understand their background. So part of what I even talk about with the younger generation, I just said, so let me give you a history about what your parents grew up in. And I always give it, like for our elders, like they grew up in times of war, times of famine, times of disease, and a lot of their skills were survival. And so if they didn't learn how to get out of their survival, they will still do the same thing because they don't know anything different. So when I give that piece of that to the Gen Zers and the younger ones, they're like, oh, we didn't even think about that. I said, yeah. I said because they have to, you have to give them the space to practice those things because they weren't afforded that, because it was either literally survive and that's it. And if you didn't do these things, there were dire consequences. And they were like, oh, okay. And that's why, and part of that, because I love history as well. I love history. I didn't like it in school, but I love it now. But it was just giving them that piece so that they can see about, like, now, even when working within Asian communities, we're working with, especially with the parental dynamics, it's literally talking to them about, like, so you grew up here, which you were afforded different liberties versus where your parents grew up. It was literally survival. And they were like, and so it's helping them piece those things together to help give grace to the older generation.
Yeah, giving grace. I like that concept within, mental health and community a lot. Do you have any ideas about, like, how to encourage communities to engage with mental health and wellness, or to encourage our populations to seek out and explore therapy? What are some things that work?
I think some of the things that work is, I know what's really big with the AANHPI community is they will go to their primary care doctor. And to be able to ask their primary care doctor for mental health resources, and then for the primary care doctor to recognize that they need some mental health resources. And so for example, when I was looking for like any healthcare for me with my primary care, the one thing I always asked was for somebody specific. And I said, I need a person of color who understands me, so I don't have to continue to explain my cultural background, because it's a lot. And and that's the thing, you have, part of what I always teach, like whatever community education I do, we really work on asking the right question, not just any question. So that's what I would say with, it's like you have to teach when we're going into these primary care spaces, to teach them to ask the right question for their primary care, because they will go to their primary care, and it's just like connecting with their primary cares or any community resource about mental health. And so I know with what the Wingwood is doing, Asho Center here in Tumwater, APCC in Lakewood, Tacoma area, and there's another one, I can't remember, I think it's an Asian American, where mental health therapists, like connecting with those entities to help continue to get out the message of the importance of mental health. But it's really important that they see us in those spaces more than anything.
The us as in therapists?
Yeah, the therapists of, like the AANHPI therapist, because like I said, when they, because when people find out I'm a therapist, they were like, you're what? I go, yeah. And so when I tell them the type of therapist, then they're like, oh, I need to talk to you. I go, okay.
Well, what difference does this culturally informed, um, culturally informed standard bring? What does it allow you to be able to do that other folks who are not as familiar with the culture might stumble with?
So there's a huge comfort level, and it's the comfort, and what that helps remove is the veil of if there's like a fear or intimidation about, because they see somebody who looks like them. And so what that does, and they're just like, okay, and there's this comfort also in not having to explain their cultural dynamics because you already understand it. Because there's I remember specifically one of my Asian clients was so glad. She said to me, she goes, "I'm so glad I don't have to tell you about like how I grew up, because I know you get it." I go, "I do." Because she was saying with a previous therapist, she had to explain everything, who wasn't an AANHPI therapist. And I remember her saying that she felt tired explaining that, because it was like everything she brought up, she had to explain. And so to be able to sit in that space where they can just literally just show up, that's an amazing thing for them, for sure.
Yeah. I can remember that's like the codependence. Codependence is community.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing. If you're unaware, you can always think that. Because the importance of family dynamics to us, it's a very important factor in our lives. And so part of what I work on with clients in the AANHPI community is just like, how do we find the balance in that? And it's just like I said, do your family thing. There's nothing wrong with that. It just can't be in all spaces all the time. It's just like, can we assign some time and some spaces for that? So helping them find the balance in that, because they still want to honor culture, still want to honor family. It's just, how do we do that so where it doesn't always, you're not always going at these events or these, whatever it is for the community, at a depletion.
Okay, so I'm thinking about like younger generations right now, millennials, Gen Zs, maybe even alphas. Because they're kind of like in that middle, that gray area between collective identity and individualism. And both of them have such a huge influence on and both so like different in how they're going to manifest. How does that a person's disposition towards collectivity or individuality, does that have impact on how and what you're able to do in counseling with them?
It can. It just it's helping them find the balance for them in that. And so oftentimes when I talk about balance, people think 50-50. I say your balance can be literally 60-40, 40-10. It's whatever you can deem it to be. So I think, like I said, working with the younger generation, and it's really cool because they're so open to talk about mental health and mental health therapy, because there's a lot of psycho ed that you have to give with them, because social media plays a big influence in it. And part of what I always have to tell them, I go, so actually look at somebody who's actually licensed in this, not some random person who's been to therapy, because it's a different experience. I said, because there's an education piece that has to happen. And because they will self-diagnose very quickly. And it's just like, so I need you to, when they come and see me, they would say all the things they have or whatever diagnosis. I said, so tell me where you got that from. And it's always some type of social media, some type of internet thing. And so to help them find the balance in their individuality and the collectivism, because they enjoy all of that too. And it's just like, what actually, literally, again, meeting them where they're at and what actually works for you.
I think it was for, hot clinic.
Yeah, the younger generation, I always appreciate them because they are always coming up with new lingo, keeping me up to date with, okay, Miss Scarlett, this is what this means. And I'm like, oh, but that actually is this. They're like, we hear you, but this is what this means. This is what we say. I go, all right.
Well, I imagine that even just the baseline familiarity with concepts like being triggered or panic attack or like complete denial, just having those concepts to begin with, it must make it a little easier to talk about issues. I mean, I think it probably shows that there's a higher base consciousness. That mental health and wellness stuff is ubiquitous within Gen Z, Gen Alpha in ways that it just isn't with Gen X.
Yeah.
The older generations, first gens.
For sure. And you know what's always interesting working with the Gen Zers, the Gen Alphas, is that I think what's the unfortunate thing is that they have to hide that they're seeing a therapist from their parents. Yeah, because it's that their parents' stigma about, because there's that notion, especially in the AANHPI community, is whatever happens in the family stays in the family. You don't tell anybody else about that. And if you do, you're caused shame and embarrassment. And then with that comes guilt. So part of what I always encourage the younger generation, I said, so at some point, we're going to have to include your parents or whoever your caregivers are in this process because you're living with them. And there's no way to go around this because they need to be a part, because part of what I was talking about, they have to be a part of the solution. And so some go with it, some don't, because in the state of Washington, over the age of 13, you can sign up for therapy services on your own you don't need your parents' consent. And so even though they're over 13, there's still this, I said, and I tell them, I said, doesn't mean we have to bring them in right away, because part of it's that trust I build with them. I was like, so we have to address what you want to address, and that's it. I said, because my concern is how you are after you leave the session. Because I said, they're gonna be fine in the session. They're not gonna cut up in front of me. They're not gonna act out. I said, but I need to make sure that we address what needs to be addressed in a way that is they can receive it well. So it's interesting because I've had some parents come in. It's just like they don't need therapy. This is a waste of time. I've gone through that with them, and it's helping them understand. And part of what I would say to those types of parents, I said, so tell me where those ideas are coming from. We really do that, and I just said, so part of what I said, I go, are those your ideas, or were you just continuing ideas that don't fit anymore because you're unsure about the therapy space? And so it's helping them identify, oh, okay, I'm just unsure. I really don't know. I said, so let's say that then. And helping them with that educational piece, because I'm really big on emotional intelligence and working on that and identify feelings outside of like happy, mad, sad, hungry, lonely, tired, because that's all really what we learned growing up. Yeah.
And shame.
And shame and guilt. Yeah, all of that.
Can't forget that, otherwise we would never get it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Are there any other things that are insights that you have about the community and mental health and wellness, or things that you'd like to see happen?
Well, I think what I'm liking seeing happening is I'm seeing more AANHPI come into not just become therapists, but also become they're bringing along their communities with them. And so we there's still these old stigmas that still stick around, but I think what I'm enjoying about is like I'm seeing the uptick. And I remember doing a psycho ed class for Pacific Island community, and me and my other Samoan therapist colleague, we had said, hey, so we need more Pacific Islanders in this space. And so now that we have there's a group of us across the world, and it's growing because, and then even when I work with the Gen Zers and the Gen Alphas, and it's really cool because now they're interested in becoming therapists, where before it was like something else. And then I'm just like, I remember a student was a graduating senior, and she said, so I want to become a therapist. I said, you do? You know, and she was a PI student, and it was just cool to help her talk through that portion of how to get into this and the effectiveness that it'll have for long term, not just for her, but for the community, because we always carry our communities wherever we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have language skills besides English?
No, just English only. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering if, like, within a lot of the Pacific Islander communities, if the way that mental health is talked about is pathologized. Like, for example, instead of saying, like, mental health and wellness, it's all about mental illness or mental, you know, that the common terms for depression are going to be kind of woven with negative stuff into it.
Well, I think it's that part, but then there's no language for it. It's still a developing, like, to say depression. I don't know the sentence for in someone, but I know it's a whole sentence to say just the English word depression in someone. You know, and so even when we're talking about mental health, mental wellness, mental illness, there are no like specific like pinpoint words. It's literally having to explain to them in paragraph about, so this is what this is. Yeah, so it's still developing the language for that, for sure.
Do you think that there's any advantages in having these terms in one's own language or in different languages?
Yeah, I do, because like I said, it's that being comfortable with it, because you know, English is not the predominant language in our AANHPI communities. You know, it may be second or third or maybe fourth. You know, and so to have it in your own language, the biggest thing, it makes you feel seen, like someone understands me, and that's a massive big deal, I would say.
Yeah. I can imagine how difficult it must be to access counseling and support in translation.
Yeah, because there are sometimes translators, but then the biggest thing especially within the PI community, if there has to be a translator, the likelihood of them coming is not high, because then they think about it as like, this translator is going to tell somebody else, and then it turns into community gossip, and so to explain that to them, like, no, they have the same HIPAA rules and they're not allowed to, it takes them to convincing to believe that, though, because of their lived experiences. Yeah.
You could go